Hello, Johan.
Bonjour.
Thank you to share that moment with me. Introduce yourself to our European friends.
Johan Magnusson, Big Swede BBQ, and live in beautiful Arizona that you can see in the background. And we do barbecue classes, cooking videos. We have BBQ Rubs. We have a new cookbook coming out. And we just enjoy spreading the love of barbecue and grilling. Cooking outdoors. The best thing that you can do.
The best thing, yeah, sure. Especially here in Arizona.
Yeah.
Johan, tell me, you're coming from Sweden.
Yes.
You're an European guy.
Yeah.
And how did you arrive here in Arizona, and how did you start barbecuing? And talk about that, please.
Yeah, so my wife's American.
Yeah.
So it was either to take her to Stockholm or for me to move to Arizona, where it's sunny 326 days of the year. So that was pretty easy. And when I've always been interested in cooking. I always loved, the Swedish summers and grilling outside. And then you move to a place where you can do it every single day of the year, and suddenly you get excited and you want to learn more and you want to educate yourself. And then I went to, still remember, I went to Famous Dave here in Peoria, and I had brisket for the first time. And I said, I want to know how to make this, because this is just heaven. And that's how Big Swede BBQ started. It was the opportunity of cooking outdoors more frequently, and then also discovering barbecue. And yeah, it's amazing. It's been a cool ride.
Man, I got you. Okay, so let's talk about barbecue.
Yes.
Now that you're like a big chief, you used to compete, but you're not anymore. You developed some rubs, and so just tell me, for you, the reason why you are not in a competition circuit anymore,
yeah.
and the reason why you took another direction.
We started because when I started cooking, I watched a couple of the cooking shows and the barbecue competitions on TV, and I wanted to try that. So that's how Big Swede BBQ was actually how it was started, as a competition team. Mm-hmm. And then quite early I found out that I respect the people. I have a lot of friends that compete. You've met some of them while you've been here, and they spend a lot of time and effort to really master their skill. But for us, that was not what barbecue was all about. Barbecue for me is hanging out with good friends, drinking a couple of beers, and cooking food together. It's not about, is my food better than yours?
This is the true meaning of barbecue.
Yeah, at least it was for us.
Yes.
And take nothing away from the people that compete. They're amazing. But we decided we want to go down a little bit of a different path, and it was more about Big Swede BBQ perhaps helping people at home to cook better food by creating rubs that will elevate the flavors, by shooting YouTube videos on how to cook things outdoor, and also doing cooking classes and events and things like that.
And was it easy for you, like a European guy, to be accepted here by your parents and developing products? That the barbecue here in the USA is like. It's like a way of life, and when you are from Europe, I can feel that. Yeah. Okay, man, you're just a European guy.
Yeah, what do you know about barbecue?
What do you know about barbecue?
Well, I think that barbecue, the way that I define it, barbecue is universal. Every country in the world has, a style of cooking outdoors, and American barbecue is just one version of that. So for me, it's more about. Yeah, it took I think it took a while, because people didn't really know what does a Swede know about barbecue. But when they start testing the food and trying the rubs, they realize it's pretty darn good. So maybe this guy know a little bit what he's doing. And I think another thing too, as coming from a little bit of a different culture, and this, you can take some of the food inspiration that you have from Europe, and you can blend it with cooking the US way. And then it's fun. It's something a little bit different.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
So you took some European flavors in your American barbecue.
Yeah.
And is it great for American people to be able to taste different thing, or how do they react to that?
Well, I think there are certain things that Americans, if you generalize, are pretty open to. I think my rubs are very American in the flavor, which is why I like them. But I've also tried to, get people to try pickled herring, which is a big thing in Sweden.
Yeah.
Doesn't work as well. We have smoked salmon roe, which is a typical Swedish thing. I haven't met an American yet that likes that. But I think there are other things that we try to do a little bit more. Like, I love Spanish Iberico ham, like the Secreto, the Pluma, the Presa. And those are cuts that I'm familiar to from Europe, but people don't cook it as much here. So try to educate Americans about that. I grew up eating a lot of game. Same thing here in Arizona. It's mostly cow, pork, and chicken.
Yeah.
And when you introduce people to game, they go like, oh, this is exciting. Yeah. So I think you can bring something from, no matter where you are, it's still cooking food over an open fire or using some sort of fuel to do that. And that's fun. I think mixing is fun. How's that?
Thank you. It's interesting. It is. Now, can you say something to our European followers or friends? For you, what is the common mistake for a newbie when they start barbecuing? What is the common mistake they do?
I think the most common question that we get when we do our cooking classes and cooking events: how long do you cook it? So how long should I make the ribs, or how long do I smoke it before I wrap it? How long should it be on the grill? And my answer is always, well, it depends. It depends on the meat, depends on where you are, your altitude over the sea, how humid it is. All those things affect how long things will cook. And I think the most common mistake is that people cook to time and not to temperature. I think that's number one. Number two, I think people don't season early enough, and I don't think people let the meat rest long enough. And if you take your time and you prepare it the right way, I think then you can create magic. But those three things would probably be the most common mistakes. Yeah.
And on the opposite way, what is your recommendation for a good barbecue?
I think it's
that's
a difficult yeah, because I always get like, sometimes you get people who say, well, that's not the way to do it, and I'm of a little bit of a different opinion. I think there's no right way to cook anything. There are just different ways.
There's no rules.
Yeah, you can wrap a brisket in aluminum foil, you can wrap a brisket in butcher paper, or you cannot wrap it at all. And all of them, if you know your grill, you have good seasoning, and you take your time, all of those three approaches will be amazing. So I try to look at it, it's just different ways.
Thank you. I know that you are working on pellet grills as well.
Yes, I do.
And what do you think of pellet grill? I mean, in a competition way. I mean that because, and that's the question that I asked to your two friends that I met with you, Kyle and Sterling. For us in Europe, using a pellet grill in competition is like a bit cheating. So I have to say that when I started to barbecue on an offset grill, it took me years to understand, to manage the fire, to get a perfect blue smoke, a perfect clean fire anytime, and it's really hard. And now anybody can just push a button, set a temperature, forget it, and get almost the same result. Almost the same result. So in competition, for me, it's like cheating. But it's my European way of thinking, of course. So since I met those guys in competition using their grills, I understood that it's not so cheating. But I would like to get your opinion.
I love pellet grills. I have 8 of them, so I'm kind of biased. But I think that it doesn't matter what grill you use, because you still need to understand how the meat works. You still need to know seasonings. You still need to be able to cook on that grill that you have. Yeah, a pellet grill, it's easier to keep the temperature, but the flip side, it might not infuse the same amount of smoke flavor, so you might have to find ways around that. So I think every single grill, every single smoker has benefits, but it also have some challenges. And if you're a great cook, you can cook on anything. And for me, when I cook at home, instead of having to wait 45 minutes, an hour for my pit to be warm and be able to stay up all night and just throw one log in at a time to keep an even temperature, I press the button and there you go. I can control it on my phone, and that simplicity, I just think that why make it more difficult? If you can get a good product and you have tools that will help more people cook easier, then that's a great thing.
And better.
Yeah. And better. Yeah. So I think I'm all for pellet grills.
All right. Okay. You developed some rubs that we have in France.
Yes.
I mean in Europe. We have the Big Swede Bird Boost, which is just fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
The color is incredible. I used some pictures on my last book for the brand that I worked for, because it was just fantastic. And your Veggie Boost, my wife is using it in everything. I need at least one. Yes, I need at least one per week. It's maybe not per week, but at least one per month.
Yeah.
And the pork boost is fantastic. They are great. So, how did you develop that? How long did you take to?
That's a good question.
Do?
So I think with the rubs. So what happened was that when we stopped competing and before we got into the cooking classes and all that, because this is still a hobby of mine. I have a real job too, or a real
I like a real job.
Yeah. So for me, it was more of I want to still keep in touch with the barbecue community, but I'm not competing. So I thought, well, maybe if I put together a rub, I can give that out to my customers. We can still get the brand out there somehow. And then people loved the Beef Boost, and it placed really high. We placed 4th at the American Royal in 2018 against, 400 or 500 of the best barbecue rubs in the world.
Wow.
And then our manufacturer said, we want to distribute you guys internationally and all across the US. So I had to make a 2nd rub and a 3rd rub and a 4th rub. And that's the way it was. And I think the Beef Boost probably took 50 to 100 different versions before we got it right.
Wow.
And we probably did a couple of 100 cooks on it too, just to make sure that we got the perfect blend. So I always tell people, when they ask, so how do I make my own rub? Don't make your own rub. There's plenty of people out there that spend their entire life thinking about how to create the perfect rub. So, buy it instead. And I don't only use mine because that would be boring.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I have all my, friends' rubs at home, and I like mixing and throwing a couple of different combos together and have fun with it.
Is there any new rubs that we will have sometime in Europe?
Yeah, we're working on a few. So we have a Burger Boost Seafood, Texas Boost, which we so far mostly sell through our own website because it's so expensive to ship it from the US to Europe. Mm-hmm. But we're working on maybe coming out with a few more. So we'll see. We have a Wing Boost, which is for hot wings, that we're launching here in the US in a couple of months. So yeah, there's things happening, but we'll see when we can get it to Europe. And we're just so thankful that sometimes I get posts from France and Belgium and Netherlands and Germany and Sweden and Norway with people using my rubs, and I have to pinch myself
Yeah.
because it's weird. It's
but-
weird that people know Big Swede BBQ in those places.
Yes, but you deserve it. Your rub
thank you.
deserves it. Yeah, they are fantastic again. Yeah. Any new surprise for this year?
Yeah, we during the pandemic, I was stuck at home, so I felt like I need to write a cookbook. So we wrote this badass backyard cooking, 288 pages,
Wow.
all color, with all our favorite recipes. So that's a nice little project that we've been working on.
I already could read some recipe, and they're amazing as well.
Yeah, there's some fun
Fantastic.
stuff in there.
What I really like when I read your book is that you are not focusing on techniques and on the thing that you have to get a good a good temperature. No, everything is simple. It's clear, and the flavor looks amazing. I can't wait to try them.
Yeah.
But it's a great book.
Whenever we put together a recipe, we have 4 criteria. Number 1, you need to be able to cook it on basically anything. Number 2, it needs to have simple steps so everybody can do it. Number 3, I like it to be slightly unique, so it's not like just regular ribs, it's ribs with a little bit of a twist. And then the 4th one, it needs to taste badass. It needs to be really, really good. And that's what we tried to do when we looked at basically every recipe that we have on our YouTube channels or on social media or in the cookbook. We try to follow those 4 criteria.
And your recipe are not focused on your rubs.
No.
So
You can use any rub.
any rub, and more of this, the ingredients are easy to find,
Yeah.
which is not always the case in Europe.
No, that's
it's not easy for us to get ancho powder or chili powder or black chili. Man, we don't have that.
Yeah.
It's simply.
And I think that's what cooking is too. If you can't find an ingredient, well, then don't use it. You could still use all the other ones, and it might not taste the same, but it might taste better. You never know.
It might. Yeah.
That's the way that I look at the difference between cooking and baking, because I know you do a lot of baking too. Baking, I really suck at it, because baking is science and cooking is art. And I think that's what it is. Our recipes or our videos, they're inspiration. If you can't find an ingredients, use something similar, or just take it out and use all the other ingredients, and it will probably taste pretty darn good anyways. And again, that's the way that we look at cooking.
Great.
Don't follow a recipe like it's the rule book. Follow it as an inspiration and a guideline.
Yeah, it's what I say always to my followers, or when I see some question on Facebook. May I replace that with that product? Of course you can.
Yeah.
Do it. Try it.
Yeah.
And have fun. And that's it. Yeah. Is this any message that you want to say to our European friends?
No, the only thing will be just thank you for your support of both Johan and Rohan, and I hope that suddenly this pandemic will be over and we can start traveling again, and we can attend some of the events in Europe, because I can't wait to get back and see all my friends and just have fun with barbecue. Be adventurous, try new things, and if you like our rubs, subscribe to our YouTube channel, post, tag us. We want to learn, and we want to see what you can create, right?
Thank you, buddy.
No, thank you. It was
I
a
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
And not too shabby for a Swede.